think we've got them corralled. Good morning. My name is Carol Schneeweiss. I'm the Distance Education Director for the Department of Social Work, and I'll be leading this little celebration today. I'd like you to all please stand and welcome our 2018 graduates. Thank you. You can be seated. It's really exciting for us to see so many of our students here, particularly as at this graduation we have many distance students that are graduating along with our campus students. And some of them have come from a long way. We're always excited to get to see them face to face after years of online work and be able to join in this celebration with our campus students. It's a very nice opportunity for us to get all of our students together and truly celebrate. So before we go much further, I would like to welcome all of you. We certainly are proud of our graduates, but I'm betting that most of you feel like you're dragging across that stage as well, or that you should be able to march with them across the stage, because we know that without you having their backs, without you picking up the slack, without you drying the tears, they were tears, but without you being there, supporting them in all the ways, whether you paid their rent, whether you kept their children, whether you proofed their papers, we know that they needed you to be here today at this moment in time. And so thank you for that, and welcome to all of you as well. Graduates, let's give them a hand.
Still going.
One of the things that many students here often, particularly if they have need for any of their classes, is that there's a practice behavior that we have as a good social worker knows how to be flexible and deal with ambiguity. Well, I'm just going to tell you, our program is a bit flexible and ambiguous today because we've had some things change since we sent it to print. So be patient with us. I'll guide you through it. Not like it's complicated, but it isn't what it might seem in some cases, so that's okay. It has no reflection on how proud we are of these students or how valuable this moment is to us. It's just something that takes it away. And we can't always be where we most want to be. And so that's what it's about. So no graduates, that even our faculty who are not here with you today are thinking of you and wishing you were here because they're also thinking of you. So one of those people, the chair of our department, Karen Bartol, was in
practice through that practice lens. So it's an honor and a privilege to walk with people who choose to be vulnerable and share their journey in the hopes of making their lives better. As social workers, we get to assist our clients in writing and rewriting their own narratives. We do this by being present, listening, being empathetic, building self-worth and hope. It's really an awesome responsibility that we are entrusted with as a profession. And every day that I practiced, I felt that honor. I still feel that honor as a social worker. Social work isn't flashy, as many of you know, and most of us don't win awards. But the rewards that we get are to show up regularly and see the outcomes of such amazing, strong, courageous clients. I want to share a couple lessons that I've learned over the years of practice. First of all, be kind. And kindness adds to building that relationship, and relationships do make a difference. Clients have the right to self-determination, and often it wasn't the direction that I had planned for that client, but it was their direction. We all have our own baggage, and in practice, hopefully by your work around your genograms, ecomaps, timelines, that you were able to look at your own baggage and become self-aware as to how that might get in the way of your practice. Supervision is vital, and if you don't have it in your agency, look for it elsewhere. If it's not broke, don't fix it, and that relates to clients, but also within our own practice. I am still learning this, and I hope you all learn it quicker than I did, that art of saying, I don't know, I don't have all the answers, I know, and no. And I'm sure many of you probably learned how to say no in the last couple of years when you've been on this journey. So remember, our clients are people just like you. In practice, I tried to be really mindful of looking at clients through the lens of somebody I care about, whether it be my parents, sibling, partner. What I want to highlight is I hope that when you're in practice that you remember that and are able to put your client in that position of how they come to your office and how it might be based on their worst day of their life. So I don't ever want to be judged on my worst day of my life, and so keeping that lens clear. Why should you be a lifelong learner, besides the fact that you have to for your licensure? We all know the world is changing, our society is becoming more global, and so that is important. The field is changing faster than it ever has, and so if you don't continue to learn, we won't, as a profession, we won't stay current and be culturally sensitive using our evidence-based interventions. For those of you who've had me, but Carol, I think there are a lot of us in the department that talk about this, but one of the things that I want to highlight is, yes, put your oxygen mask on first. Self-care is essential in social work. This looks different for everyone, and it's not a one-size-fits-all. It doesn't happen without practice. Use your resources and remember that we are all human. Set boundaries, eat healthy, sleep, exercise, pray, meditate, laugh, play. Take breaks, and yes, you can go on vacation. Ask for help. That is balancing all of our mind, body, and spirit. All too often, the result of social workers not practicing self-care not only hurts that person, but the clients that we serve, their friends, their family, and the profession feels its impact. Another couple extra thoughts that I want to share before I'm done. One is you will encounter hurdles and fail. According to J.K. Rowling, she states, it is impossible to live without failing at something, unless you live so cautiously that you might as well not have lived at all, in which case you fail by default. Wow, think of all the great opportunities you're going to have to fail in practice. It's an opportunity for growth. And you'll be able to sit in that discomfort and learn from those experiences. I know, as many of you, that the toughest moments in our lives are the ones that push us out of our comfort zone and force us to grow. My challenge to you is make a lot of mistakes, be brave, vulnerable, and practice your craft of social work. You are leaving UND with a gift, a toolbox you have earned, spent many sleepless nights earning. It's called an education. It's your time to go out and be change agents. You will be making the world a kinder, gentler, safer place for those vulnerable and oppressed people. I'll send you off with one last quote from Dr. Seuss, because he's so awesome. You have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any direction you choose. You are on your own, and you know what you know, and you are the one who will decide where you go. So what I wanted to do is I want to take this moment to congratulate you and salute you from behalf of the department and on a job well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Barb. I know she said you were done, but I also love that she made it very clear you're not really done. Because this learning thing goes on for forever. But it's nice to have one box that you can check to be done. So that is awesome. So our next speaker was to be Deb DeWitz, who taught primarily in our distance program, and she was unable to be here today. We didn't realize this when we put the program together, but her daughter's graduating today, and golly, she wanted to be there. And so certainly, so in thinking about that, I was thinking about faculty that knew all of you, and I asked Dr. Weber if he would come up and speak to you briefly.
My hood's all crazy. I still get really excited every time I get to teach a class, but there's a special buzz for graduation. So I've got a little bit of butterflies today, and it's great to see you here. And a number of faces, people that I've seen in the classroom, others that I've just seen online or for a day and a half once a year, right? Plus, I'm guessing, do we have folks at home? Yeah, so because there's both distance students and campus students and distance students there, I feel a little obligated to say, live from Grand Forks and the beautiful campus of the University of North Dakota. It's graduation day. Hi. Congrats and thank you for being here, both our graduates, but to all of you as well. Congratulations on this day, and thank you for coming out. So you have heard me say this before. I'm hoping you'll put up with me saying it again. I think it's important for you to hear again. But I also hope that, that it's of value for you to hear this as well. The future needs social workers. There is no other profession that has the unique skill set, values, perspectives necessary for taking us into the future. So thanks for choosing this profession, and best of luck to you in carrying out your practice. Other professions are important, certainly. I get to work with physicians and engineers and tech entrepreneurs and lots of other important people who will help us to create a better future. But these social workers are particularly important, not just for the oppressed and disadvantaged populations in the world, although fantastically important to serve that population, but for the entire society. For instance, Grand Forks has an aging population. We need more children. Our reproductive rates could be a little better. Just an idea for this evening. We have a society in transformation in terms of the makeup of the family, divorce rates, same-sex marriage, smaller families, less coherence across generations compared to what we've perhaps had in the past. We have the challenge of helping both immigrants and refugees acculturate to this community. The world is currently dealing with a refugee crisis greater than any time since World War II, and perhaps greater than any other time in human history. We have drug and alcohol issues that harm our productivity and threaten lives. These are serious issues. These are issues right here in our community, Grand Forks. These are also issues across our state and throughout our region and in our country. And indeed, these are issues that are faced by wealthy industrialized nations around the world, and in many ways, these are issues facing the entire globe. Physicians, engineers, tech entrepreneurs, those people that are important to the future, they're all important and will have roles to play. But only the social workers with their unique ethical code, your values, your perspectives, your skill set are uniquely positioned to help the world deal with all these challenges. For instance, the engineers are great at designing stuff, but they don't always know how to talk to people, and they need a social worker in the room sometimes to help them make sure that what they're building and designing will serve the well-being of people. Social workers are important in ways that you probably maybe have not even imagined yet. And our profession is going to continue to shift and change. You're going to be there on the front edge of those changes. So, while I think you are terribly important and of great value to the world, I also hope you don't get too big for your britches. You now are going to have a graduate degree. And we love to say, oh, us poor social workers, we don't get much recognition and we don't work for much money. But actually, with your graduate degree, you're going to be doing all right. You're going to be in the top 10%, most of you fairly quickly, in the top 10% of income earners in the country. Don't forget why you chose this profession. Don't forget the mission of our profession. Don't forget who you are responsible to serve. Don't lose sight of that ethical code. So, with all that, thanks for the opportunity to get to work and learn with you over the last year, or for some of you, for a few years now. I'm very privileged to have had that opportunity to do that. Now I'm privileged to get to go out and do work with you in our community, in our state, in our region. And remember, nobody is ever going to ask you what grade you got in Old Man Weber's policy class. But we get to do good work together. So I look forward to that. One last time then, congratulations on your fine achievement. And I wasn't going to do this, but we've got so many distance students here. I'm so glad we've had this time together just to learn about social work and other stuff. And now before we know it, all our time is over, except for all the work we're going to get to do. And now it's time to say congratulations, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Brett. There were several thoughts I had and comments about those young people that might go off and live out someplace else after your direction for tonight. But, you know, we really want to keep them close, but that might not happen. So thank you very much for those encouraging words. It's, you know, the things that we're going to be doing and where this direction our profession goes is truly unknown, and it's exciting that you will be on the forefront of that. So the next speakers that we have are our student speakers, and representing our distance group is Joe Robillard. Joe?
Good morning. I wrote a fairly lengthy speech. I hope you have time. Actually, it's not so bad. It is a really big honor to be asked to speak for my cohort because I really respect them a lot. And the amazing things that they do in their professional lives is an inspiration for me. And I only wish I had the fortitude that some of them have. And I will just tell you, the introduction says, say a few words about how it is an honor to be able to speak in front of you. Last few weeks, I've been reflecting on the journey I and all of the graduates have taken. I was thinking about what brought me to grad school, the things I had to learn about myself, and the changes I had to make things happen on my journey. I thought about the first class. I was very, very nervous. And it was this odd sensation of wanting to be liked and trying not to say the wrong thing and trying to puff up my background to make it look like that I really belonged here. I didn't want to sound like a loser who hadn't found his place in the world yet. And then one after another, people started talking, many of them with amazing jobs and amazing backgrounds. Here I was, this musician, way out of his league, 40 years old, coming back to school again. And I was thinking to myself, musicians don't have empathy, do they? Left my first class not very excited about the next 3 years. I was scared, and I thought I'd made the wrong decision. It's embarrassing to me now, but I applied to get my master's degree in social work in order to get another degree in a different. It was a prerequisite for the degree I really wanted, and my conception of social work was that we handed out welfare and take away babies. And I was wrong. I admit it. It was probably 2 days later we had our individuals and families class, and I had to introduce myself. And in this class, the introduction to ourselves was supposed to be your name and 2 things about yourself that you wouldn't tell people on the first time you meet them. And I gathered up my strength and I said, my name is Joe. I'm a recovering alcoholic, and I'm gay. A few minutes later, I got a chat message from Eric Grover saying, hey, congratulations on your recovery. I'm in recovery too. How many years you got? I had 6 at the time. I'm at 9 now. A few weeks later, oh no. No. See, the thing is with recovery, that's 9 years of not being a jerk, is really what that's all about. I have harsher words for it, but it's not appropriate audience to say that to. A few weeks later, it may have been the next class, I don't really remember, we were assigned groups for a project in our research class, and in this group was Eric, Bianca Bell, Brandon Gaspar, who is in Arizona today watching, and myself. I at least sort of knew one of them, and don't really remember much of our interactions at first, but I do remember them being annoyed with the fact that I had a social life. I kept shooting down their suggestions about a meeting time because I had other things to do. One night I was at a symphony concert in Fargo, and I know better than to have my phone on vibrate, except my phone exploded in my pocket, and it seemed to go on and on and on. I got up after the concert, checked my messages, and the last few messages said, where's Joe? He's probably out with friends. I wonder what he's thinking about all these messages. And there were 55 messages. And thus was born the wolf pack, and that's we refer to ourselves that way. I don't think anybody cares what we call ourselves, but that's... we've continuously texted almost every day since. Started reminding each other when homework assignments were due, asking each other, how many pages does this paper supposed to have? What did Brett say in class? We even met online to discuss our progress on our ISPs. And all of us had a sullen look on our face. Bianca wanted to quit school. She said, $30,000 isn't that much. We texted about our problems, our successes, and our failures. We supported each other. It's not even limited to the 4 of us either. On our cohort Facebook page, there were the same questions. What did our professor say? How many pages was this supposed to be? And there was always an answer. They call me Jokopedia because I answer the questions on the page. I look it up first. I'm certain I'm not alone, but I've gotten phone calls and texts and chat messages out of the blue asking if I would act as a sounding board for some of my classmates out in the field. I've had coffee with a few, even had coffee with Carmen out in Michigan online, which I thought was really neat. And last semester, I had the pleasure of having lunch almost every day with Andrea at the VA. I tell these stories, not because it shows we have networking skills or anything like that, but because it shows that we're doing what humans have been doing for millennia. We're helping each other, and we're connecting with each other, and we're reaching out and asking for help. We were making real connections. 10 years ago, I heard a story about a woman who asked the Dalai Lama, "What is the meaning of life?" The Dalai Lama's answer was quick and short and pretty succinct. He said, "The meaning of life is happiness." Just the sort of answer you'd expect from a dude in a robe in the middle of Tibet. He goes on to say, hard question is not, what is the meaning of life? Easy question to answer. Hard question is, what makes happiness? Money, big house, accomplishments, friends, compassion, and good heart? I used to hate talking about happiness. I go to all these 12-step meetings, people talking about happiness. I'm like, give me a break. Why can't we talk about something realistic? Literally was my thought. I know I don't look like it now. I used to go running a lot. I'll do it again someday. I was running by the lake in Austin, Texas, and somehow happiness popped into my head. And as usual, I was thinking about how stupid the topic was. And then I thought, wait, Thomas Jefferson wrote about happiness, didn't he? You know, certain unalienable rights endowed upon by the Creator of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I messed that quote up, just so you know. You can go look it up. And I thought to myself, Thomas Jefferson isn't a stupid man. I know this. He's not a stupid man. So I might need to reconsider this happiness thing. Growing body of research indicates happiness may have an impact on health and longevity. The autonomic response system, negatively impacted by major life events such as unemployment, poverty, and trauma. Mortality rates skyrocket among people who are unemployed for long periods of time. Unhappiness has been connected to metabolic rate and even how our organs respond to normal bodily functions. Back to the Dalai Lama. In a different interview, the Dalai Lama expanded in his previous statement about happiness. I believe that the purpose of life is to be happy. From the very core of our being, we desire contentment. In my own limited experience, he says, I have found that the more we care for the happiness of others, the greater is our own sense of well-being. Cultivating a close, warm-hearted feeling for others automatically puts our mind at ease. It helps us remove whatever fears or insecurities we may have and gives us the strength to cope with any obstacles we encounter. It is the principal source of success in life. The people we serve as social workers are experiencing the most challenging life circumstances. Homelessness, mental illness, economic hardship, aging, substance use. Even millionaires who are in a hospital are vulnerable. The list goes on and on. Deb DeWitts, who isn't here today, used to introduce herself in role plays saying, my job is to help people become happy. Assuming, on my part, that means that I'm helping them solve their problems and therefore they have other things to think about, that they can be happy. Humans are social creatures. We are here to help each other. Sometimes the social worker is the only helping relationship our clients have. Just as we, as students, helped each other find our way through grad school, we are charged with helping others find their way through challenging parts of their lives. Somehow, I stumbled upon this noble profession that I barely knew existed, and has become my life's mission, and I hope yours too, to help others to become happy. Thank you, and congratulations.
Thanks, Joe. The downside of them giving me the microphone is you have to put up with me occasionally. So it reminds me of one of the things many of you have heard me say often is the motivation isn't really important. It's what if we're doing it, we often start doing things for somebody else or for a different reason, and we find all of a sudden in the middle of it that we're doing it for ourselves. So one word of wisdom, don't get hung up on why. Change is happening. It doesn't matter. It's happening. Motivation is, we want to try to get them motivated, but we don't care what their motivation is. But Joe reminded me of that and thinking, sometimes we're led to places that we didn't have any idea that were our journey, and your doors will open, and they'll open to places you don't have on your radar right now. So be open to that. So the speaker representing our campus group is Kaylee Hayen. Did I say that right? No? I even practiced. Please pronounce your last name.
Callie Hayen. It's good. It's good.
Callie Hayen.
Hi. So I do have a speech prepared, but as Joe was talking, it made me think of something, so I'm going to ad-lib a bit and tell you this first. When he was talking about being nervous on his first day of the online cohort, and it made me think of when I started, I obviously was in the on-campus cohort, but I was able to take a few of my elective courses with the online cohort, which was a pretty neat experience to get to see how that worked. And I remember that first night that I was going to get online for this first grad school class, and I was excited and nervous the same. And I was thinking back to numerous years before when I'd been in undergrad, and online classes at that time were very different. You basically logged into old school Blackboard, and there was a list of, here, read these chapters and take these tests by this date, and that was it. And so I didn't really know what to expect, and I got on, and turns out technology has evolved quite a bit since then, and it's a pretty impressive program that they have going in this online, and you're on camera, and you're mic'd, and all of this, and I thought, okay, so I had prepared and practiced, and I was so ready, and I got on, and I had my camera ready and my microphone ready, feeling like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. I'm in grad school. And I logged in, and some nice person in there wrote, hi, Callie, we can see you. And I wrote, oh, hey, with a smiley face. Like that. And then realized they were trying to nicely tell me, hey, smart girl, shut off your camera because we're not all supposed to be on camera. It was just me, my big head on everybody's screen. So I was immediately a bit deflated in my excitement of being this big grad school girl, but so there you go. That's first day. Okay, so like I said, my name is Callie Hayen, and I am honored to be up here representing our on-campus cohort. I want to start by, again, like those before me, saying thank you to our family, our friends, and the faculty that have come here today to celebrate and support us on this special occasion. I was honored that my cohort chose me to speak. I've been thinking a lot about what I should say and what would be the right thing and a good message. So knowing that my boys would be here today, I asked them, what do you think I should say in a graduation speech? And they very wisely, being 4 and 6, suggested that I tell jokes. And so we talked about what kind of jokes should mom tell. And the ones that they suggested didn't seem quite appropriate for the occasion. You can imagine little boy jokes. So I found a few others that I thought I'd try out on you guys to see what you think. So here's some that I found. The first one said, how many social workers does it take to change a light bulb? 1, but the light bulb has to want to change. And the next one said, how many social workers does it take to change a light bulb? None. They will simply write a treatment plan about how to cope with darkness. Or, how long does it take a social worker to change a light bulb? Well, it's 10 seconds to change the bulb and then 3 hours to write the case notes and assessment justifying the intervention. And then this one's my favorite. A social worker is facing a mugger with a gun. Your money or your life, says the mugger. I'm sorry, the social worker answers. I'm a social worker. I have no money and I have no life. And then one last one, because this was my boys' favorite. They told me this one. What has 2 thumbs and is finally done with school? This girl. Thank you. All right, there we go. Okay. So it's been quite a journey to get to this day, a journey that at times felt like it would never end and at other times felt like it flew by. We have balanced school with careers, spouses, children, weddings, new houses, moves to different cities, as well as many other various life events that consume a person's days over the course of a couple of years. We continued in all of our various roles, and then for 2 days each week, our cohort gathered here on campus to be challenged in pushing ourselves to the next level as both professionals and as people. We all have people we want to thank. Many of them are here with us today. To our families, thank you. Thank you for your love and your support as we worked to survive this wild ride. To our professors, thank you for your wisdom and your encouragement that you shared with us along this journey. And to our fellow classmates, you were by far the best surprise in this adventure, and I am really grateful for the relationships we've built and the support that we're able to provide each other in this crazy line of work that we've been called to. According to the U.S. Census, only 9% of the entire U.S. population obtains a master's degree. That means that we are now in a group of less than 10% of the 329 million people in this country who have achieved what we have now achieved. And yet it seems that the real measure of this accomplishment is not simply in earning this diploma, but it's truly found in what we will do with it from this point forward. When we say we're social workers, we're not merely saying what we do for a living, we're saying something about who we are as people. Service, social justice, dignity and worth of each person, the importance of human relationships, integrity, and competence. The things we stand for, the things we fight for and believe in, don't turn off when we walk out the door of our office at the end of the day. They're ingrained in every part of who we are. We now have an opportunity, a privilege, and an obligation to go out in the world and leave it better than we found it. To be a voice, an example, and a leader. To do the hard work, to stand up against opposition, and to speak up when fear and intolerance bring out the worst in those around us. We all know that it's easier said than done. Now that we've come this far, we can never unknow what we have learned. We have opened our hearts and our minds, and we now have a duty to go out and live this work in every aspect of our lives. We are social workers, and that is most definitely our superpower. Congratulations to my classmates. I look forward to seeing how each of you go out and change the world in your own unique way. Thank you.
Thank you, Callie. I was thinking of the joke I usually tell. How many social workers does it take to make sure a class gets recorded? It's going to take everybody in the room. Because I promise we'll be forgetting. So, okay. I do want to, Brett mentioned this, and I feel remiss that I didn't mention it sooner, and that is really a salute to all those families that are out there watching. And I saw some Snapchats. I know there's parties going on, and people really engaging in this in their own setting, and I didn't acknowledge that very well in the beginning. So I apologize. You guys are important to us. We wish you were here. And you'll get your virtual hood. So, all right, so the next part of our ceremony is about the hooding. And for that, I would ask the faculty to come up and make a line right here. For those of you who don't know, the faculty, the students have a final research project called their independent study, and probably you know that by heart because you've heard a lot of swear words about the ISP. But the person who hoods them is typically that person who guided them through that process. And we have some absences here today, and so some of us will be filling in. But again, it's about recognizing and acknowledge all the hard work, because this is that individual project that they just wanted to be done. Come on, I just want it done. So I'm going to ask Bruce Reeves, the director of our field program, to announce our candidates. When he does that, well, I'll let you just explain, Bruce.
I'm right here.
You're right there. I'll let you do it.
I'm hovering.
Oh, well, then I'll let you take it from here.
Okay. So, hi again, everybody up there. So what this process is this is an opportunity, and it's very casual, so please feel free. We'll have the call you up one at a time, and you'll come over to this spot here, and your advisor or the person you've selected will hood you. That will give you an opportunity, family and friends, to take a photo. So you're welcome to get up and move and come over here and make them embarrassed as much as you possibly can. Okay, so we can do that, and then we'll ask the graduates to go ahead and greet the faculty down there, and then come back and take your seat. That clear? Rock the gauntlet, as we call it. All right. So the first is Bianca Bell. You can clap. Her independent study was titled North Dakota's Behavioral Healthcare System, Building Capacity for Change, and her advisor is Carol Schneeweiss. Our next graduate is Jennifer Bennett, who could not be here today, but hopefully you're watching, Jennifer. Her independent study title was Dialectical Behavioral Therapy in a Rural Community Setting. Her advisor was Randy Nettegard. Our next graduate is Colin Block. His independent study project was Saving a Life, a training manual for suicide prevention and intervention in youth populations. I had the pleasure of being his advisor, and I get to hood him as well. Our next graduate is Ashley Charwood. Her independent study project is Inclusive Policies and Nonprofit Organizations. Her advisor was Karen Lee Barkdahl, and I have the pleasure of hooding her today. You ready? Forward. Okay. Congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Our next graduate is Megan Conity. Her independent study was Supportive Services for Young Adults Diagnosed with a Chronic Illness. Her advisor is Carol Schneeweiss, and also her hoodie. While she's walking the gauntlet, I will tell you that she missed the flight, wasn't able to land last night, so she drove from Minneapolis to here overnight and just got here this morning. Our next graduate, who could not be with us today, but is Gina Marie Elwin. Her independent study was titled Integrating Newcomer Youth and Their Families, an Exploration of Psychosocial Influences and Best Practices. Her advisor was Carol Schneeweiss. Our next graduate is Eveline Fondong. Feminist theory is essential in preventing female genital mutilation among vulnerable refugees in the resettlement process was the title of her independent study. Andrew Quinn was her advisor, and we'll ask Barbara Kramer to hood you. I will also tell you, if I happen to know stories, you might get stories told about you. But that Evelyn did her internship in Texas, even though she was part of the campus cohort. Her independent study project was they were so impressed by that she ended up presenting on that topic through many places in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So we're very proud of that accomplishment. Our next graduate is Brandon Gaspar. Hopefully, Brandon, you're watching. His independent study was titled A Child and Family-Centered Guide to Grief Support. His advisor was Kenneth Flanagan. Our next graduate is Eric Grover. His independent study project is titled Compassion First Aid, a training manual in compassion engagement and enhancement. His advisor was Ken Flanagan. He'll be hooded today by Carol Schneeweiss. Congratulations. Our next graduate is Ashton Hager. Her independent study project is called The Effectiveness of Trauma-Sensitive Yoga, an intervention for minority women who have been diagnosed with PTSD. Her advisor is Yiping Xie, and I have the honor of hooding her. Oops.
We can do it together. No, I'm like in my, okay, so.
Yes.
Hi. Sorry about that, Ashton.
It's okay. I can be caught over.
Yeah. It's good. Congratulations.
Our next graduate is Callie Hyen. Was I right? Hallelujah. Okay. Independent study project was titled Effective Training for Emergency Responders to Suicidal Patients. Her advisor was Andrew Quinn, and Barb Kitko will hood her. Our next graduate is Tamara Hoffman, who is not with us today. Her independent study project was titled Play and Childhood Development, Technology's Impact on Child's Play. Her advisor was Carol Schneeweiss. Our next graduate is Leslie Holmes. Her independent study project was promoting access to transportation in a rural Nebraska community. I had the pleasure of being her advisor, and I also get to hood her. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
You did it. Oh.
Okay. Our next graduate is Randy Lasalu. I'm hoping I'm saying your name right, Randy, sorry. Her independent study project was summer therapeutic programming for children. Her advisor is Stephanie Homestead. Our next graduate is Carmen Markham. Her independent study project was a therapeutic alliance with the suicidal client, a manual for social workers / practitioners. Her advisor is Randy Nedegard. Our next graduate is Lindsay McCarthy, also couldn't be here today, but hopefully watching online. Developing a grant proposal using evidence-based therapy in a rural jail setting was the title of her independent study project. Randy Nedegard was also her advisor as well. Our next graduate is Lori Mohagan. Woo! Her independent study project was titled Integrated Treatments for Co-Occurring Disorders. Her advisor was Andrew Quinn, and she will be hooded by Barb Kitco.
Okay.
Our next graduate is Abby Moore. Her independent study project is titled Decriminalizing Sex Work in an Effort to Reduce Sex Trafficking. Her advisor was Yiping Xie, and I have the pleasure of hooding her today. You want pictures more? We're good? All right. They know better. All right.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you.
Our next graduate is Andrea Moore. Her independent study project was employer benefits support for supporting comprehensive employee health and wellness programs. Ken Flanagan is her advisor, and Carol Schneeweiss will be hooding her today. Our next graduate is Caitlin Morris. Her title of her independent study project is Impacts of Housing Instability on School Success. Her advisor is Brett Weber.
Congratulations.
One more here. Yes. Congratulations. Good. Our next graduate is Morgan Narrett. Using animal therapy for children who have experienced sexual abuse. Andrew Quinn is her advisor, and I have the pleasure of hooding her today. Our next graduate is Nancy Pillen. Our independent study project is titled Secondary Trauma and Staff Retention. Our advisor was Yiping Xie, and I have the pleasure of putting her today as well. Our next graduate is Kelly Rickabaugh. Non-directive play therapy for children exposed to trauma is the title of her independent study project. Yiping Xie is her advisor, and Barb Kitko will hood her today. Our next graduate is Joe Robillard. His independent study project is titled How We Socialize Boys and Its Effect on the Mental Health and Well-Being of Men. I had the pleasure of being his advisor. More than one, okay.
We'll get it if it didn't. I'm so proud of you.
Congratulations. Oh, great speech.
Our next graduate is Jeffrey Scholl. His independent study project is titled Solitary Confinement, a review of the literature. His advisor was Randy Nedegard, and I have the pleasure of putting him as well. Congratulations. My pleasure.
Congratulations.
Our next graduate is Jamie Stonework. Independent study project is called A Research-Based Guide to Multicultural Development Practices in Nonprofit Human Service Organizations. Carol Schneeweiss will be hooding. Her advisor is Karen Lee Barkdale. Our next graduate is Christina Streigel, a grant proposal to implement trauma yoga informed practice. Her advisor was Carol Schneeweiss. Our next graduate is Justine Terzinski. who also could not be here today. Perinatal Care of Women with Substance Use Disorders. It's the title of her independent study project, and her advisor is Stephanie Homestead. Our next graduate is Jana Tyson, Loss and the Impact on Relapse on Substances. Yiping Xia was her advisor, and Barb Kitko will be hooding her today. Our next graduate is Brooke Thorson. Her independent study project is titled A Research-Informed Guide to Trauma-Informed Reflective Supervision. Carol Schneeweiss is her advisor. Our next graduate is Sarah Wagner, who could not be here with us today. Her independent study project is titled Supportive Sexual Health of Individuals in Community-Based Mental Health Agencies, Recommendations for Staff Training. Her advisor is Brett Weber. And last but certainly not least, Caitlin Weigel is our graduate. Her independent study project is titled Tuning into Turnover, Addressing Home Visitor Turnover as a Supervisor. Her advisor is Carol Schneeweiss. That's so cute.
She's out of breath. She's so excited.
So that concludes our program for today. We do want to thank you again for being here and supporting your graduates. Graduates, thank you for making the trip and being here. Thank you for being so wonderful. As I was reading off these titles, and some of them were quite a mouthful, I'm just impressed by the body of knowledge that you people brought to our department and to the profession of social work. And it's just pretty amazing. Carol usually says this, but I'll say it this time. This is our payday. This is when we get paid as faculty for being able to have the opportunity of educating you, working with you in your internships and in your coursework. I had the pleasure of having several of you in seminar. So this really is your gift to us at this holiday season, and we thank you very much for all your good work, for being astounding people that you are, and we only expect good things as you go forward. So one thing that we would like to do is, as we break, then we'd like to invite the graduates to come up here, and then we'd like to do a group picture with you all. Family and friends, are we gathering next door? There'll be a reception next door in the room next door. You're welcome to go ahead, and there'll just do some snacks, coffee, juice, things like that. So thank you very much for coming. Congratulations, graduates.
It's like herding cats, but y'all come up here.
Is Lonnie here with the camera?
I don't know.
Has anybody been tweeting, by the way?
I don't think so.
Let me see your thing for just a minute.
I know.
Somebody we missed? Yeah?
No. I just
Oh, couldn't figure out who it was. Yeah.
couldn't remember. Knew the face.
Yeah. Do we, I don't know. Grant, bring a camera? Okay. You have got a camera, Brant? Did you bring the department one? No?
I just have my cell phone.
Okay.
Center and around the university logo.